Good afternoon and welcome to, this is going to be a fun webinar today. We've been looking forward to this for a couple months now, and welcome to the fourth in CAD1's Masters series of webinars. We decided to do this this year because we've got so many great clients and friends of ours and customers and et cetera, who are doing really interesting things with the Autodesk software that we sell and the technologies that we teach, and so we decided it'd be fun to showcase some of these really high examples of these projects this year. So today's special guest is Julie Turner Mitchell from the City of Aurora, and senior AutoCAD operator, but that's kind of a misnomer of a title anymore, because what you're going to see today is really some wonderful advanced InfraWorks 360 InfraWorks tool layout, and a development project in the City of Aurora that is really going to be a treat. So anyway, we also have my friend and colleague, Mr. Brian J. Haley, PE, as the co-host today. My name's Stan Henney. I'm the Business Development Manager at CAD1. So we'll go through the usual housekeeping slides here real quick. Most of you have been on a webinar, so you know the drill. If you want to minimize the console so you can see the whole screen, hit the orange arrow. And if everybody would please, could you hit the raise your hand button? That way we can tell that you're able to hear us. Yep, there we go. We see some hands going up. We're going to ask today, you're certainly welcome to ask questions, but because we've got a rookie webinar presenter here today, we hate to break the flow, so we'll hold the questions to the end, but please feel free to ask them. And with that, Brian, I think we have one more housekeeping slide here. Yep. All right, so we've got a few classes coming up. CAD1 has been, this is the second year straight that CAD1 has been named the top training center in North America, and all 5 of our instructors are in the top 10 in North America. So we're really proud of that fact, and you'll get great training if you come to CAD1. We've got a Civil 3D Fundamentals class coming up on August 10th through the 13th, a CAD to GIS, basically platform of Map 3D on August 17th through the 19th. And you're going to be so stoked about InfraWorks after this presentation. We're going to have a full class there.
That's right.
On the 20th and 21st. Civil 3D Styles on the 24th, Civil 3D Grading on the 25th, Pipe Networks on the 26th, and Hydrology and Hydraulics on the 27th.
I just want to throw something in here real quick. Those 4 classes, those are all one-day classes. Right. They work together really well as kind of an advanced class, but it allows you to pick and choose between them. And if you decide to take all 4 of them, ask your sales rep for a deal on the 4-class package.
Wink, wink, nudge,
I'm
nudge.
just surprising the Stan with this, but I am sure you'd have no problem if you purchased all 4 of them, kicking you in a little discount there.
Will be nice. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn the bulk of the presentation over to Ms. Turner Mitchell. I keep messing up Turner.
Just call me Julie.
Julie and Brian Haley now, so sit back and enjoy.
All right, great, thanks, Dan. So yeah, today we've got Julie. She's with the City of Aurora. How long have you been with the city, Julie?
3 years.
3 years, okay, excellent. And she is a CAD operator there. And she got tasked with creating a really great model for the RTD Light Rail expansion.
Yes. I first started doing a plan on a wall, and then after my employers saw the wall, they said, well, why don't you model the light rail? And I was very excited about the software, so I said, sure. And then I thought, what did I just do?
So the wall, I think this is the piece you're talking about, right?
Oh, this is a plan that I did for a...
Oh, okay, yeah.
This went between 2 parking lots. It just showed a sidewalk.
So this was kind of the proof of concept for this project, right?
Actually, this one was after.
This is after, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next slide is...
I'm out of
I'm out of order here.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not you. So, but anyways, you know, this is kind of getting into that whole the 2D versus the 3D, right?
Right. Guys, I was very excited about InfraWorks when I first saw it, and I just knew that there are so many people out there that have a hard time reading construction plans. And so if you could show a 3D picture, then it would make everything so much clearer.
Right. You know, they say, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words. A 3D model is worth how many thousands of pictures, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. I think this is the wall you were talking about here. Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about this? Kind of what it is?
This is at one of the stations that we're building, the metro station, and we've got a lot of grading slopes through here, and so one of the engineers proposed this big wall, and the city was not thrilled with the height of this wall. They thought that it would probably not stay nice and clean for long. So I did the grading in Civil 3D and then put that into InfraWorks and showed, you know, exactly how tall the wall would be. I tried to put some people in there in cars just to show the comparison.
And how well was this received?
It was received very well. So they used it as a talking point, and they're not building the wall.
Okay, good. So in this case, it was actually they thought the wall would be okay until you got it, or at least the engineer thought that.
The engineer thought it was a fix, but the city did not like it.
Okay, and then this was kind of the way of proving, saying, hey, yes, we are right. We don't like the wall. It's going to be a graffiti magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect.
So I knew that this would work well for people that, like I said, that didn't understand construction drawings, like city council and shareholders and citizens. Oftentimes we will have a city council meeting, and we'll need something to take to the meeting to show how, you know, an exhibit or whatnot. And so we would make a exhibit on a 24 by 36 and mount it to a phone core and take that to a meeting and show that. But now with the InfraWorks being able to use that, we can just take a thumb drive and plug it in and show aspects of, you know, along the rail, you know, certain properties, or if it's for a citizen, maybe they're concerned that their apartment's going to be demolished, and so you can kind of show in that area how the light rail will go through their neighborhood and whatnot.
So how much did the citizens interact with you on this, or with the city rather, do you know?
I haven't really had much interaction with the citizens. I've been told by people that show it at meetings and stuff that they really enjoy it.
Okay, perfect. So this is kind of the scope of the project here. So this is the RTD Light Rail along I-225.
Yes.
City of Aurora. So down at the south end, we've got, so that's...
We start at Parker Road,
okay,
the existing station there. And it's 10.5 miles in length, and it goes pretty much parallel to I-225. And then it kind of jogs over and goes up by the AMC.
So it's kind of in this area here. Okay.
Jogs over there, and then it goes back along I-225, crosses over at Colfax, and then it goes up through Fitzsimmons Parkway.
Okay. And where does it end?
Oh, it ends at the Peoria station, and that station connects to the East Line that's almost up and running now, that goes out to the airport.
Okay. So there'll be a transfer station there for the folks on the light rail to transfer over to the rail that runs out to
the airport or back downtown.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so in talking with Julie, she had a lot of challenges that she had to overcome. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that she had, and then kind of the way that she overcame those challenges. So the first challenge, obviously, you get into some of this new technology, and it's really, really system intensive. InfraWorks creates some really big files. It's graphically intensive, and so things were just running slow.
Yeah, I didn't have a top-end computer by any means. So when I first started and brought in the massive image file and the massive contour surface, it just pretty much brought my computer to a stop.
Okay.
So I got a beefier computer, added some more RAM, and I got a better video card, one that Autodesk recommended.
So you went to the Autodesk website and found the recommended video cards, and that seemed to work better?
Yes, much better.
Now, Julie, and you're probably going to ask this, so sorry, but
that's right.
Were you using the box version of InfraWorks at the time, the one that came with the suites, or were you using InfraWorks 360?
I was using 2014
yeah,
R2.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, this project is a couple of years old, so it was done on an older version of InfraWorks. So a lot of the things that you'll see when we see the video can be done a lot better now with the newer version of the software.
Right.
But I think it's fantastic for what you had at the time.
Very good.
So yeah. All right. So another challenge was this new software. All right. You're basically thrown to the wolves saying, "Hey, model this line, and here's some software." So you found the software, right? You weren't told to use the software.
Well,
I
came to CAD-1 for a demo when it first came out, and I thought, this is awesome. This is so easy and so much fun to use. So I always wanted to work with it. So when this opportunity arose, I, did a lot of online tutorials and tried to figure out how to do it the best I could. It's not hard by any means, but there are a lot of little tricks and things that you just don't know unless you try to do something and you're like, I know that there's an easier way to do this. So I tried the online tutorials and stuff, and then when I couldn't figure something out, I would call Brian, and I got some training time and didn't get a lot, but it was enough to get me over the hump and really make it realistic looking.
Okay, perfect. So another challenge is you had all this existing roadways that were out there, and you had data for the roads. So you had shape files that represented the roads, and when you brought those shape files in, InfraWorks created roads for those.
Right.
And they weren't quite what was really there.
They didn't look like the existing roads, that's for sure. And so I first started out trying to, take each road, at least along the rail, and stylize it to look more like what is actually there. And that was taking forever. Okay. And then you couldn't get in the turn lanes. And our traffic department, they wanted to see what it was really like at the intersections, the problems and the solutions that the rail would bring at intersections especially. So I ended up using the best aerial that I could, and I took out most of the roads that came in through the shape files. I left the areas where there were bridges because you needed a bridge.
Right, the aerials couldn't display a bridge in 3D.
So I put in the bridges, and then I tried to use land coverage for areas of change. So I would draw in Civil 3D the land area of the roadway that was changing, and then I would bring that into InfraWorks as a land coverage.
So in the areas where the road was going to be reconstructed,
yes,
widened, those types of things, you'd go in and create a coverage area. Why didn't you use roads for those?
Well, I did for some of them, but if the rail line was going across the road, it created problems. And I could put the rail across land coverage without it disappearing or or all the issues that I was having trying to put a rail on a road. People don't normally put rails down the middle of a road.
Right, so typically freight rails, they don't go down roads, they cross roads.
Right.
Whereas with this, I noticed in the video that you had a fairly long stretch of a road where the light rail was going down the middle of the road.
Yeah, actually 2 places. It
Okay.
goes down the middle.
Yeah, and so in those areas, you were having issues with every time the rail and the road would cross each other, they would try to intersect each other and place an intersection there, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of headaches. So like I said, I used the land coverage for areas of change, and then that highlighted also the area of change. So you could see, well, here's an area that's looks different, and I could actually put in the striping and sidewalks and stuff, so it looked more realistic to me.
Okay, perfect. So, you are modeling like the entire city of Aurora, it seems like. Now, I'm not sure exactly the extent of the city, but we're talking a 10-mile long rail. That's a very large area to cover. So you had some pretty big files there, huh?
I did. I had really big files. I had, the file size was 42.5 gigabytes. I had 38,500 files in 880 folders. So part of the problem was, at first I was doing it over the network, and that, with that kind of file size, just was not working. So I found out that if you would put the file onto your desktop, then you didn't have all that lag when you were trying to do stuff. So I did that, but even saving the file from the network to my desktop took almost a day.
Okay.
So
wow.
It was very tedious.
Okay. Just as a note for those that are listening here, the new version actually allows us to keep the model up on the network and work locally through a local cache file.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for additional new projects and things like that, you can keep the model up on the network, and then when you access this, it basically makes a local copy of the cache, and it runs off the cache, but the actual model is still up on the network. So you can have multiple people accessing the same model at the same time.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah. So like I said, she was using a version that was a couple years old, so the 2014 version, which didn't have that functionality. So.
And because I was creating a 3D model, you want to have 3D models in your 3D model, like trees and cars and people. It makes it so much more realistic. But I couldn't put a lot of that kind of information in my model because it was just, the files were growing and growing and growing. So I tried putting 3D objects in key areas, like at the stations or when I would slow the train down, because the train had to go fairly fast or this video would be a half hour long, which would be very boring. So the speed of the train is faster than real life. So when the train would go around a corner, maybe I'd put some trees or some cars and stuff like that. Or when it was going down the middle of the road, so you could tell that it was a road, I would put cars in there. Okay.
So basically you just kind of did a level of detail analysis, internal analysis to your head, and said, in this area, I don't need a whole lot of detail because the train's whizzing by and people aren't going to see it, but here we're coming into the station, we're slowing down, I'm going to put some trees here to make things look a little bit more realistic. Okay. So another challenge you had is if you just watch the video with, just straight video, it's easy to get lost in it. So what part of the city are we in now?
Right. So what I tried to do is highlight areas by just calling them out on the video, what they were. So I put all the street names on almost every street that the rail would cross, and that helped a lot. I also called out key buildings or the campus of the Aurora Municipal Center. I labeled that, Fitzsimmons Golf Course, and those items I would label so people would see, oh yeah, that's, Heather Gardens, or, here's Parker Road. And
so when you did that, did you create the labels in the model itself, or was that a part of the video, or
No,
was it a post-processing after you created the video?
that was part of the video, and I would recommend, if you're doing that, to not put the labels in until the very, very end, because I put them in kind of as I went so I would know where I was when I was creating the video. And if you change the length of time or add another slide in, then all your labels are off.
So you shift it off. Okay.
I went through and readjusted the labels many, many times.
Okay.
So I should have waited till the end, but I've learned a lot on this project. So I added the street names, and another thing that I did was I would visit Google Earth, and I would go down my rail, one building at a time, and I would look at it on Google Earth, and then I would try to match the facade on the model.
Now that was Street View on Google.
Right. Yeah. And I even tried to match, the rooftops. So, what kind of pitch did it have, or what color was the roof? And if there just wasn't one, I would just kind of make it a blank color. So, but the ones that were right along the rail, I tried to match the best I could.
Just to give it a more realistic representation of what was really there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you weren't able to exactly match these, right?
No, because there's only so many facades in the style table. So a lot of them look fairly much the same. Mm-hmm. So I did the best that I could. And there's also, I realized later that there's a level of detail in InfraWorks, and when I would put it in, they all look the same. And then I changed the level of detail, and I was like, wow, that really looks a lot different. So yeah, I would recommend that you set your level of detail fairly high when you're doing that work, so you can see what you're doing.
Okay.
But again, those things are so important to the public and the kind of the lay viewer, because they recognize, oh, there's the grocery store or the dry cleaners that I always go by. Now I get it. Now I see how that's going to look. Whereas if it's just generic building types or whatever, it just doesn't resonate as well. So, again, thinking about this project in that way is pretty cool.
This slide shows the Aurora Municipal Center in the background. Shows the train crossing at grade, and it also shows the striping and the turn lanes. So I put in coverage on this so I could add all the striping and the turn lanes, because this was very important to our traffic department, because they wanted to see how the signal heads were going to look and that. So
okay.
Again, I think there's just, you were on the project for so long that, it probably became kind of every day to you. But hearing these things about the traffic department and how it's going to look and what the visibility is going to be and so forth and so on, I mean, these are levels of detail thinking that, you need in that real world experience. And so, good for you for going through that. And it sounds like there was a bit of a collaboration with other departments as well to really get the level of detail they needed as well.
Yeah, I would try to, do as much as I could, and then I would pull in an engineer, and I was like, is this really how this is supposed to look? And then, someone would say, well, I think it needs to be, it needs to be higher. It's higher there than it's not on grade. And just trying to get the train at the right elevation took a lot of work, because now I understand they've got that where you can do it in the profile. You can change the profile, but I had millions of little vectors and I had to take each one up, you know, if I wanted to, because when it came in all on grade.
So when you're saying it came in, you're talking about the shapefile that represented the center line of the rail.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it came in and it just draped on the surface.
And that was the thing that had all of the vertices on it.
Right.
Okay.
So anytime there was any grading changes, I would have to pull up those vertices one at a time to get them to be, and I did find that you could actually type in the elevation, and that helped immensely.
Okay.
Now, Brian, that's again, though, something, did you use much Civil 3D or any Civil 3D files as base files as part of this? Because that's something that the workflow is much easier now on than it was.
I created Civil 3D files for the land coverage, so any parts of the road that was being moved or rebuilt, I would draw the outside of that roadway in Civil 3D. Well, it wasn't even really Civil 3D, in AutoCAD. And then I would turn that into a parcel and then bring that, which I understand you don't have to do Civil 3D objects anymore, which would be great, but I would import that parcel into the InfraWorks and assign a land coverage to that.
Okay.
So I did that for roadways. I did that for some areas where we were doing demo. We had a couple of apartments that we demoed, and anytime I went under a bridge, I would put land coverage there, because if you didn't, then you would see the aerial roadway and it would look very strange.
So you're talking about the bridge being draped on the aerial image, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I would put land coverage there. I did, as you can see on this slide, the arrows and the turn, well, not the turn lanes, but the arrows are pipes that I drew in Civil 3D, and then I imported that into the InfraWorks as a pipe style, and I just made a real small pipe just barely sitting on the ground. So
Necessity being the mother of invention.
Yes.
Once again.
and the median is also a pipe.
Yeah. And as I was talking with Julie earlier, we have come up with a workflow to bring line work into CAD, so it just looks like, or line work from CAD into InfraWorks, so it comes in as basically a line.
Yeah,
So-
that's a great improvement as well.
Yeah.
This is a slide that I used to show how I tried to make the city building look like the bottom slide is a Google 3D, and the top slide is one that I created in InfraWorks. So you can't even see the flag on the Google one, but there is a little flag on top of the AMC up there. I tried to get the same colors and stuff. It's kind of not the right angle, but
So I have a question for you. How did you model that?
actually the dome on the courthouse is a big ball in InfraWorks, and I just sunk it down into the building
Okay.
and just left the top sticking out.
So you had a 3D city furniture that was just the shape of a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
You signed it the same color or close to the same color as was that a copper dome?
Yes,
Okay. And then you just kind of sunk it down into the building.
yes.
That's really slick. I like that.
Now, did you have any Revit models or anything like that available to you in this process that you brought in, or?
I had some Revit models, but I couldn't bring them in. I couldn't figure out how to get them in, and I knew if I did, I think it was probably a saving grace that I didn't, because I think it would have dropped to its knees.
Yeah.
One of the other challenges I had would be that when I would show this, people would say, well, that's not how it looks. Like the train stations. that's not the layout of the train station. So the train stations I have on this model are closer to what they look like, but not exactly. There was a trash can that I had at one of the train stations, and I was told that that trash can was not acceptable because it wasn't see-through. It had to be a see-through trash can. So it's just the little things that I tried to make look as realistic, and then people started thinking it was a little bit too realistic. The stylizing, it's not as hard as it seems. Brian showed me how to stylize some stuff, make the lanes, the roadway lanes wider, add a median or add landscaping and then a sidewalk, or a sidewalk and then landscaping. It wasn't that hard to change that.
Yeah, so once you got into it, it makes the process make sense, right?
Right. And so I made a bunch of different styles. I copy one and then change it to, a 4-lane or a 2-lane, and try to make it as much City of Aurora standard as I could.
Okay.
I also went to Google SketchUp Warehouse and tried to find 3D models there, which was a great tool. I was able to get the stations, and on the Colfax station, which is elevated, I found an elevator, and I stacked one elevator on top of another to get up to the light rail, and some stairs. So that helped out a lot. I also went into SketchUp and 3ds Max and tried to learn that a little bit, try to make it a little more realistic or fit, because some of the models, maybe I found one that worked, but it was way too long or way too short. So I would try to go into SketchUp and try to adjust those.
So you'd go into SketchUp. You didn't create anything in SketchUp. You just take a model, bring it into SketchUp, adjust it to fit your site better, and then use that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what she said.
That's what it is.
This was a perfect example here, the Potomac Street Pedestrian Crossing. When I pulled that in from the warehouse, it didn't quite fit, so I needed to shorten it up. So I had to take some of the panels out and then move over the shaft.
How difficult was that?
It was difficult.
Was it?
Yeah, because I was not familiar with SketchUp or
Right.
3ds Max, and that, it's not too hard, if you've got time to sit there and go through the tutorials and learn how to build something from scratch. But these were a little more high end than just building a tube.
Right. Okay.
This is the Colfax elevated platform, and I don't know if you can see on there where I've got the elevators at both ends. Those were models that I pulled up from.
So you're talking these here?
Yeah, those were models that I pulled in from the warehouse, and then I would just stack one on top of another, pull it up through I created a bridge, wind it out, then put my rail up to that. I also would have areas where, well, I think we've got another area to talk about the platforms, right? When I created the video, there were so many options that I was just totally lost on what to do on that. I ended up choosing, I think the next slide was the encoder. The MJPEG compressor is my one option. I think there's about 5 options, and then within those 5 options, there's multiple options through there. But
so this one seemed to work best for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I also did a frame rate of 30 frames per second and held the viewport resolution to 1920 by 1080 and kept the aspect ratio. So
Okay.
that worked for me. And I had a lot of problems when I was creating the video. I think I was running out of RAM. And so I would start creating the video and I'd think, oh, this is great. It looks really good. And then I would come across an area where it looked like an ocean was. And I think either I had a hole in the surface from where the rails were really close together and they weren't the same elevation, and so just that gap between the two rails would create like a hole in the surface, and it would just shine blue like you were looking, and it would hit the camera just right and turn into an ocean. So
Okay.
I did that several times. I thought I was going to have to break down the video into 6 pieces, and then I decided, well, I'm going to turn off my computer, let it rest. I came back the next morning, turned it on, and that's the very first thing I did without turning on anything else was open up InfraWorks and running the storyboard and creating the video, and it worked all in one piece. So that helped a lot.
Do you remember how much RAM you had on your system at the time?
16.
16 gigs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 16 gigs, I would say, is a good amount of RAM for most applications. When you get into these large InfraWorks models, yeah, that's probably what was limiting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nice thing about RAM nowadays is it's cheap. My laptop that I'm presenting from here has 32 gigs of RAM in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nowadays it's just really cheap. So if anybody out there is looking to do something similar, I highly recommend getting a nice chunk of RAM in there.
Yes.
Brian, and I honestly don't know at this point, but is there any sort of cloud computing capabilities with the InfraWorks 360 and its 2016 format that you can take advantage of to do some of this as well?
Not for the rendering piece. The rendering and the videos and storyboarding, that's all done locally still.
Okay.
There are some things that can be done through the cloud, but those are more analysis type things.
Okay.
I want to run analysis. I want my road to go from here to there. I need to avoid these areas, and I want to do it in the cheapest way possible. So it'll run through millions and millions of different possible routes for the road and then return the best one to you.
Generative computing.
Yes, generative computing.
Pretty soon we'll have bridges that can build themselves. It's a little private joke that Brian and I picked up at AU last year.
I have received a lot of praise for this video. It's not viral yet, but it has got, I think, over 1,300 hits on YouTube. So
half of those are me, by the way.
Yeah, and the other half are mine. But it is, getting to a lot of meetings, and it's kind of fun rewatching it as they're building things, and you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty much like I planned, or like I thought it would look. So that's been kind of fun.
Okay.
And the music, it's just awesome.
So I gotta ask, where did you get the music?
We had a site that we could go and choose music from that we, one of our paid sites.
Okay.
So I just went and tried to find something that was long, first of all, so it wouldn't have to have too many pieces in there,
Uh-huh.
and something that sounded kind of trainy.
Training? Okay, excellent.
Like I said, it's gone to several meetings. They don't have to tote foam core boards around anymore. They just take their laptop and a USB.
Perfect.
And also, it got recognized by Autodesk, and Eric Chappell wrote a little blog about the InfraWorks and the capabilities and the possibilities that it has. Featured that, and here I am today.
So even better than being recognized
Exactly.
by Autodesk, you're being recognized by CAD-1.
That's right.
So, ready to do this?
Yeah, so what we've got is we've got the video here that Julie's created, and what I thought we could do is just kind of play the video, and as we progress through the video, we'll have we'll talk about it. If we run out of things to talk about, I will advance the video to the next interesting spot. If we're talking too much, I'll pause the video at certain spots. So let's go ahead and start this. Now, y'all are going to miss out on the really good music. It really is pretty good. But,
over here on the right is Cherry Creek, and I just wanted to show kind of an overall of coming into the plan itself. And here is the existing 9-mile station.
okay.
And so...
So this is the existing station back here?
Yes.
Okay.
So I tied into that, and then that's where our project starts.
Okay. Now, I noticed you've got this, the flyway of, I assume that's one of the ramps for Eric 225 there.
Yes.
There's no piers under it.
Yes, I in the 2014, you could specify how far to put the piers, and even if I would specify how far to put the piers apart, they inevitably ended up in a traffic lane.
Mm-hmm.
So I would instead just say, you know, a really big distance, and then I would get no piers. And then if I was feeling like I had spare time, I would draw a building that was really skinny and make it a pier.
Okay, and I think we'll see that later in the video.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for those watching, this is a limitation that has been overcome. So InfraWorks now has the roads and bridges tools, which you can go in and place as many piers as you like, place them wherever you want along the bridge, and orient them as well.
Maybe I'll remodel this.
There you go, in your free time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's an example of where you actually use bridges for the road because of the aerial draping issue.
So you're going under the overpass there.
Right.
And now you're coming up to the first bridge for the rail.
And this is where the station ended, the existing station.
Right. And then so this bridge goes over 225 now and then comes back down on the east side of 225.
Okay. And did you model the bridge so it had the rails in them? So is that the style, how you created the style?
Yes, I created a bridge that had rails in it.
Okay.
So there's Heather Gardens on the right.
How much post-processing did you have to do on the video? So after InfraWorks created the video, how much work did you have to do on it afterwards?
What do you mean?
So did you have to go in and add the Aurora line symbol down in the bottom right corner?
Yeah, but that was really easy.
Mm-hmm.
So right here is a spot where I had an issue with, because of the difference in grade, it created a hole, like I was talking about before. So this area on the right, I created a building and I put a weird facade on there trying to make it look rocky or whatever, and I covered up that hole with that. And as you can see from the freeway up to the bridge, I put a grassland coverage to cover the area that's there now.
All right.
It's a little choppy on the...
That's all right. Where's this next one? We're going to advance forward just a little bit.
Julie did note, and for those of you out there, you're seeing this, it is a little choppy, and that's just the nature of GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, but it's running smooth as silk on the studio computer here. So.
Yes, it is. So is this the bridge that you had to modify?
Yeah, this is the PED crossing at the Potomac Station.
Okay. And then I also noticed on the right-hand side of the rail here, you've got a wall.
Yeah, light rail actually has wall almost the entire way around it, but I knew I couldn't add a wall for 20 miles, 10 miles each way. So as you can kind of see, between the wall and the rail is the old road that I didn't put coverage on. But on the other side of the wall, I have land coverage on where the new road is now.
Okay. So this was kind of to show the encroachment that's going to go into the existing road over.
Right.
Okay. And we'll just kind of work our way through this station here so we can get an idea of how this looks. So as we come into the station, you pause the video.
I let people get off and on the train.
Mm-hmm. And then it picks back up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think coming up here soon was something that I noticed. Is this right here? And this caught my eye, and I had to ask Julie about it. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. It progressed. Don't worry, I know where I'm going.
It's good because we don't.
He's the conductor.
Yeah.
Train's going back and forth.
I noticed that there's some
really quick.
Some shadows coming down across the downslope. They look like trees and so forth. And it's fine. It's really not that big an issue. But I'm just kind of wondering, do you know where what the system thought those were projecting off of, or
see if I can find an example
what you're
here.
Thinking of? What
Maybe
you were
it was.
thinking when
Maybe
you were
it's an
developing it?
aerial from the aerial, or was it
because
an actual shadow from InfraWorks?
Yeah, they look like trees and things like that. Like right here, right back here, there's some shadows coming across there, and yet, and they look kind of like they might have been trees there, or the system was saying. And what I was just wondering was, is that just something InfraWorks is doing?
No,
or is
that is from the aerial itself.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so in this area there probably is a tree there or something, and so when they did the aerial,
They draped
the sun was shining
That
from an
makes
angle,
sense.
and that shadow was actually on the aerial image.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
In this particular video, Julie has the shadows turned off in InfraWorks.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have InfraWorks cast shadows. So we could see shadows and have the different, maybe run the video early in the morning and again late at evening to compare how the shadows and the lighting is going to affect it. And in this case, that wasn't the point of the video, I'd assume. So, turning those on would just make it harder to create the video.
Yeah, it just bogged it down
Yeah.
one more step.
The thing I noticed here was this green thing coming up here on the right-hand side.
Oh, the lovely roof.
Yes, the lovely green roof.
Well, that was another.
So when I saw that, I thought maybe this was something that Julie threw in just to have a little bit of fun in there. And then when I was talking about
No, I looked on Google Earth and I tried to match the roof colors as much as I could as well. And it may not be the exact green, but it was green.
It's a
And I
green
can't
roof.
remember what building that is either. But
once again, that puts things in context for people, and maybe it helps them make better roof selections in the
Yeah.
future.
I can only hope.
All right, let's continue on. So coming up here in just a little bit, as we cross over this bridge, there's another area that I wanted to kind of show. So let's see, let's go ahead and stop. Let's back up here just a hair. All right, so over here to the right is an example of where you had roads and where you didn't have roads. Can
Right.
we talk about that a little bit?
That's because that's where the construction stopped and started for the new exit ramp.
So the exit ramp was being realigned in this
Yes, because of the new, they had to shift everything to the west because of the rail crossing.
Okay.
So that's, I tried to show roads or coverages in areas of change only.
And in that area, the road style seemed to work fine.
Yeah,
right?
now this area right here, if you stop right here, you can see at first I had, because this road was running right along and then the train actually turns up here further and runs down the road. But over here on the right, you can see the trees and they're in kind of a grassy median. I tried to recreate that style with just a big median that went down the middle of it. And I thought it looked halfway decent, but they said, that's not how it looks. And so I just took the road out, the shapefile road altogether, and it looked pretty good with just the aerial. And then I put trees where I could see trees in the aerial.
Okay. And so this is an example of where you put extra 3D models in this area just to give it a little bit more of that realistic feel to it. Okay. And again, up here on the right, it looks like there's some more trees. And then this is the area where we start leaving, driving down the side of the road.
Right.
And we actually come in and are now going to be going down the middle of
yeah,
the road.
And this area really gave me a big heartache for the longest time, because I was trying to put the rail down the middle of the road and it just was not working. So I finally just took it out and then saw that I could do a land coverage in that area, and it looks fairly decent.
They did it again.
You need a beefier computer.
No, I just keep clicking the
RAM's cheap, Brian. Why don't you buy some more?
RDR. All right. I'm glad I took notes on where these time pieces are. Let's see.
Oh, see, this is what you can do at the meeting too. You can also just shoot to the area that you want to.
Yeah. So this was a coverage area rather than a road.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you've got, as we were traveling along I-225 there, it was just the draped aerial. But here, for whatever the reason, you decided to model a few 3D cars and so
it would look more like a road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were just saying, okay, what does this look like going down the road, and how are the cars in
right.
the whole situation? Okay, that makes sense.
And then which building is that? That's kind of
the Kaiser building, at Center Point.
And is this again one of those that you try to match the facade with them?
I tried it. It didn't. There was a lot more jigs and jogs in the real building, but I tried to match it as best I could.
Now there are, and that's one thing, you did this a couple years ago, and there's been kind of an explosion in sources for building files and so forth nowadays. Now that doesn't mean that everyone will be there, but there's a couple outfits that are really doing some intense work to develop buildings and content.
Well, like I said, the Google Sketchup warehouse is growing daily with 3D models that you can use for free. It's a great source to visit.
Fella I see on, I think his name's Kevin DeVito, I think it is, and he has I see him on LinkedIn quite a bit. He's got a tool called Cityscape, I believe it is, and he does a lot of buildings and so forth, real interesting stuff.
Yeah, I know there's folks out that will create models of pretty much your entire city just by flying around, taking different angle shots, and be able to use that stereoscopic projections, kind of the way photo recap works, and will create the 3D buildings for you.
Right.
If that's something, for example, if the City of Aurora decides, this is something we want to pursue, continue to use InfraWorks, they can go out and make models of all of the key buildings just by flying around and then post-processing that.
Right. This area was another key area, the Alameda Sable Crossing. So I tried to highlight this area as well. Our traffic department was very interested to see the striping and how it was all going to fit into place, and the turn lanes and the signal heads. So
now, once again, this is where the city buildings on one side.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, okay. All right, good.
So I tried to show, yeah, here's the city buildings and there's the non-mountains to the west. This is an area where they're doing a lot of demos, so I ended up putting land coverage through here. One of the apartments or two of the apartments are being demoed in this area. So that little road over there to the right is a new road.
Okay.
And then we turn and go down another road down the middle.
So now we're headed back over to 225.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a big target in the back there. I wanted to figure out how to put a target sign, but I couldn't quite get that. This is one of the parking lots that I put in.
So here's an example of how you use the pipes to do the striping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it works, well for doing like curb and gutter too. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a hack to do curb and gutter until we
Right.
can get a curb and gutter type object in InfraWorks. Which if you guys want, you should go ask Autodesk for, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, and then I like this. We're coming back up to the interstate, and I would assume this is why you did it, is kind of as a way of saying, hey, we're back at the interstate.
Right.
Let me put some semis on here,
Right.
some large trucks on here.
Mm-hmm. And I tried to put models where the train would slow down as well. So when I very first made the video, I tried to keep it under 5 minutes because I knew people's attention spans would not want to watch a 12-minute video. So the very first video that I created, I think the train was going about 200 miles an hour and people were getting car sick. So I had to slow it down to about 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, for those of you watching, it really is quite a bit smoother on my system than what you've seen through the GoTo meeting. And what we'll do is we'll show you how to find it on YouTube here at the end. All right, let's see, where are we at?
Now we're coming up to Colford, the 6th Avenue Bridge.
All right. So you just kind of use generic facades over here, I
Mhm.
noticed.
Did you get any feedback from, peers, the council, anyone that said, yes, we feel like this sped up the process for
I don't know
us,
about
or-
speeding up the process. It's more of a talking point at meetings and stuff, but my peers did enjoy it. Thought it was very beneficial.
And I love the airplane as well, by the way. I think that's a really nice touch. Because
we're getting close to DIA and
Exactly,
the flight pattern.
exactly.
So.
And so you will see airplanes there, and so you just put an airplane up in that area. I think that's...
If you spotted it earlier, there was a helicopter a little bit ago, but nice touches.
Yeah, it's the little things like that kind of make the model, I think.
Here's another parking lot that added in.
Okay. So this is like a park and ride for the RTD, okay,
Mm-hmm.
for their light rail.
Yeah.
No, there's another helicopter.
Yeah.
So here's an example.
Yeah, so on this spot here,
Back up
I
there.
went under a bridge. And so I put a bridge in, but if I would have just left it like that, you would have been able to see the roadway bridge being draped over the aerial.
Mm-hmm.
So I put land coverage in that area so you couldn't see the road.
Okay.
And then on the left-hand side, you can see a bike path that they're building along there as well.
And this was an existing bridge for the existing
That's the
rail line?
highway, yeah.
But I know the
It's-
bridge is for the highway, but what is the highway going over here? Do you remember? Or there's some existing rail lines?
It's
or?
just toll gate.
Okay, it's just a road?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Not a road, just a creek.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
So it's
That bridge that we just went over on the train, that's the Toll Gate Creek, and now it
This is the same
turns and
creek.
goes this
Okay.
way. And so that little bike path went across right there, it goes across the creek. Now we're going across the creek again, up to the elevated Colfax station, which is not too many of elevated stations like this. So
I imagine the
city's
elevated
very-
ones are fairly
yeah,
expensive.
they're proud of this one.
Oh, wait, hang on.
The trash can.
There we go.
Yeah, there's the trash can that was incompliant.
So the green trash can there,
Yeah,
right?
it's supposed to be clear.
Oh, yeah. See that?
I couldn't find a clear one.
It's just for security reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Everybody's popping the
And these
explosive.
buildings on the left are storage units, and there are a couple of those being demoed as well. Here again on the left-hand side is Fitzsimmons Parkway, and I just left that as is and added the trees.
Added the trees into it, okay.
And then we've got a new bike path you could see in that land coverage right there, and modeling that.
Now I'm just curious, you've got the
Did it to me again.
areas that come up. Is that just the kind of phasing of the project, area F, area
Yes.
C, et cetera?
Uh-huh.
So that
And that's how it went
people
through.
can visualize, here's where this starts, and
And that's how it went through the city in the approval process as well.
I don't know how many in our audience are from Denver, or in our future audience on YouTube are from the Denver area, but Aurora is the city just immediately east of Denver, and it's actually bigger than the city of Denver, I believe, or more population. But it's, this is an extensive project that is multi-year phased and going out to the new, or DIA, the airport, the new rail line. This ties in with that. So it's really a pretty impressive project, and to see this developed in this way is really quite nice.
Yeah. So I like the way you approach this here. So you had the existing walk coming across and then down back around this way.
Right.
And then obviously you wanted the walk was going to be realigned. So you created a new road with a road style that looked like a sidewalk. And then you used a coverage area just simply to mask the old sidewalk.
Right.
Yeah, I think that this area here looks fantastic. I like the way you did that through this area.
Thank you. You can see where coming up here it ties back into the existing.
Yeah. And then we got one more area that I want to advance up to here real quick. So here, you actually have piers underneath your bridge.
What I did in these areas was to draw a building, and I just made a real thin building and then put a facade on it that looked like concrete or rock or whatever, and then placed it under the bridge and made it as tall as it needed to go, just to be right under the bridge to look like a pier.
Okay. Yeah, that's
But now, the new software
right. You
does
don't need that
so.
for that. Yeah, exactly.
I'd love to hear the music on this now that you've said that.
Here's some more storage units that were being demoed.
And I think we'll just go ahead and advance up towards the end here. Go ahead and play from here. And so this is the end of the line.
Mm-hmm. I tried to show the overall project from there.
And so this gives you an idea of the scope of the project and what can be done in InfraWorks nowadays.
Yes.
So I got to say, good job, Julie. I'm impressed with that.
Very good night. Very nice.
Thank you.
So with that, do you have some other notes? We didn't have any questions. Do you?
No. No, I think if anybody has any questions, I would love to hear them. But that pretty much wraps things up here.
Well, Julie, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for this must have been one heck of a thing to learn how to do and put together on your own, and very nice job. And we hope that everyone out there today enjoyed it, and we hope that all those who watch this on YouTube in the future enjoy it. We will be posting this on YouTube once it's processed and everything. Denny usually gets them posted within 4 or 5 days, so it should be up probably sometime next week if you care to watch it again. And you can go to CAD1 Webinars Archives on our webpage, or just simply go to YouTube and go to CAD1 Presents on YouTube, and you'll find it there in a few days. So with that being said, I wanted to see if you can show us how to find your actual video so people can find it.
Link. I don't know if you just search Aurora.
All right, so let's search. We'll do a search on YouTube. Aurora.
I-225 Light Rail.
I-225 Light Rail. And there it is.
There it is.
So if you want to watch the video with the beautiful music as well, here it is. So you just do a search for Aurora Line I-225 Rail, and you'll find it, and you can watch it at your own speed, and you actually get to see it in how smooth it really is. So thank you, Julie. Appreciate you coming in, and look forward to working with you again.
Great, thank you.
And we'll see you in the near future. Our next Master Series will be with Monica Wittig from Land Architecture doing a presentation on Revit and Dynamo. So talk to you soon, and thanks very much. Bye now.